Well, good evening, our viewers, and for those of you who've just joined us, thank you very much for joining us on the Lead2xceed channel. As you know, we launched the Lead2xceed channel on the 20th of August, and so it's just a few months now since we started this channel. And about a week ago, we crossed our first 500 subscribers, and we thought it might be useful to celebrate this with you, our viewers, our subscribers, and those who have been following this leadership series. Now, leadership is something that I find to be so critical. Leadership is at the center of everything that happens. In fact, I believe that leadership is everything, which is what this channel is about. So Lead2xceed seeks to multiply leaders and impact, inspiring leaders and multiplying the impact that they can create. So we thought that for this evening, we go live and have a chat with you who are able to join us to talk about a few things. And I decided that, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I'm going to speak about the top 5 leadership lessons of my journey. Now, this is the first time I've tried to think about what really will be the top 5 lessons of my leadership journey. And so you're very privileged to be the first group of people to hear me share these top 5 lessons. And then I'm going to create an opportunity for each one of you who are online with us this evening to ask questions. Just pop your questions up in the chat, and we will make an attempt to answer your questions. So once again, welcome to the Lead2xceed platform, where we inspire leaders and we multiply impact. So I have had quite an interesting and quite an eventful leadership journey. And as I said in one of my episodes, my leadership journey began as far back as my days in high school. And I kind of found that it was just natural for me to gravitate towards situations that require that somebody must show up and be a leader. And so long before I got into corporate life, I have exercised leadership in many different situations, in small communities, in big communities, in small groups and large groups, in corporate settings and in social settings, and so on. And so I bring to you some of the lessons that I have learned from these many years. The first lesson that I have learned, which I'd like to talk about, is that leadership is about purpose. That's my first lesson. Now, leadership is about purpose. It's critical because at the heart of everything we do is the reason why we do it. If you don't have a reason for doing anything, please don't do it. So as a leader, finding your purpose, both as an individual and also the purpose of the organization that you work for, is important to how you walk your journey and even the fulfillment that you can find. Now, when I talk about purpose, I'm talking about why you're here. Why am I here? So as a leader, why am I here? And you will find that the response to that question would differ from individual to individual. You would find some people who would find their purpose in one thing and others find their purpose in another thing. Indeed, I say this, that every instrument is created to do something. So I'm looking into a camera now and I'm talking to you. The camera has lenses and it's got other things that make it able to project images and able to produce images. If you find somebody holding a spoon, the shape of a spoon is different because the shape of the spoon is supposed to be used to do something different. Everything that is produced, the aeroplane is another example, is used to do something different. And that's the way purpose is. Every one of us are wired in a particular way. That is why no two people are the same. Our temperaments, the way we think, what our natural talents are, how we come across, what we love, what we are passionate about, what we are angry about. We're all wired differently. And the reason we're wired differently is because each one of us is designed to fulfill a different purpose. So as a leader, it's important not just to define yourself in the work you do, but to find your purpose. And I should say that that was one of my first big lessons in life. And finding purpose and pursuing and fulfilling that purpose in my leadership journey has been one of the most exciting and most fulfilling things. The second lesson that I like to talk about is there is no substitute for the work. There is no substitute for the work. There are many people who make, assertions that, oh, some people have risen to the top. They've become leaders. They've become senior people purely by just being bootlickers and always going around and messing around. And I can tell you, it goes far, but it doesn't go far enough. And it is not the right way to live as a leader. So do the work. Don't just think that rising to becoming a leader is just by pleasing people and doing all the. You've got to do the work. You've got to establish a track record that you're known for, a track record of delivering results, a track record of delivering growth, a track record of growing things. So as a leader, the question I ask today is, what is your track record? I can say to you that I'm quite pleased about what, in a very modest way, I have been able to achieve during my leadership journey in every kind of situation that I've had to exercise leadership. I have given time, I have worked hard, I have stayed through the night sometimes to put in the hard work. There is no substitute for the work. The third leadership lesson that I like to put out to you is authenticity works. There are people, again, who think that when you're authentic in the workplace, it doesn't take you far. Other people who are not authentic, who are lying and who are going around and backbiting and stabbing people in the back, they are progressing much faster than you are progressing. And so sometimes we think authenticity doesn't work. I tell the truth, I do everything right, and yet other people are rising faster than me, and so on. But I can tell you that in my leadership journey, my learning is authenticity works. People appreciate somebody who is authentic. They appreciate somebody who is genuine. They appreciate a leader who, when you tell them you're going to help them grow, you actually help them grow. They appreciate a leader who, when he says, I'm going to open the doors for you and create opportunities for you, they actually do that and they support them and help them grow. So authenticity is important. Authenticity is about being yourself, being transparent, telling the truth, being honest about situations, and being transparent to people. The other day I was having a conversation with someone, and when we got towards the end of the conversation, the person said to me, Henry, one of the things I like about you is when I sit with you and I talk, I know that what you tell me is what is the truth. I know that what I see is what I get. That's authenticity. And if authenticity doesn't take you to the topmost level, but it takes you somewhere close to the top, and that is how far you can get by being authentic, I prefer that to getting to the highest place by being disingenuous or by not being authentic. That's the third leadership journey, the third leadership lesson. The fourth one that I'd like to talk about, it will sound a bit spiritual because you will find that law both in the Bible and also in other religious beliefs. And it is the principle of seed sowing and reaping. Now, everything we sow, we reap, right? So when you sow good things, if let's say you sow an orange seed, you expect to harvest oranges. If you sow maize, you expect to harvest maize. If you sow yams, you expect to harvest yams. There is a principle of seed sowing and reaping that is associated with leadership. And I think that, again, is my fourth biggest lesson, that there are people who hold back. They don't like to share information. They like to hold back some of the information to create an advantage for themselves. Of course, we need to be discreet about what we say at what time. That's important in leadership. But where people hold back information, because they know that information will benefit that other person, but they refuse to give it. Where people can spend their time to help support other people who are struggling, and yet they hold that back. When people can be kind as leaders, and yet they hold that back. Or people can just be a helping hand to other people who need help to pursue their career when they get into difficulty. I can tell you that in my experience as a leader, everything you do for other people, you will have other people doing for you. Because the truth is, you will not always be in the room when you are not being discussed. Just like other people are not in the room when you are in the room and they are being discussed. At one point or the other, every single one of us will be discussed at the time we're not there. And the question I always ask is, what do you do for others when they are not in the room and they are being discussed? What do you expect someone else to do for you when you are not in the room and you are being discussed? So there is a principle of seed sowing and receiving. Whatever we do for younger talent, whatever we do for younger leaders, whatever we do by spending time to coach and mentor and help other people, it always comes back to us. Some of you may have heard me say this before, that there has never been a single job in my career that I had to ask for. Every job in my career that I've risen to, and I'm using the word risen to because I've never done another job which was at the same level. Every job I have done, I have risen to. And there's not been a single one of those jobs that I went to kind of maneuver and politic and talk and get. It is because at the time it was being discussed, someone else spoke on my behalf. So the question I ask is, what is it that you'd like other leaders to do for you? If there's something you want other leaders to do for you, do the same for other people, because that's an important principle. That's my lesson number 4. And the final lesson, which would have actually been my number 1 lesson, is that leadership is all about people. You see, quite a lot of leaders make the mistake that leadership is about the position and power, and they are in a place where they have influence, and so they revel in that. They revel in all the trappings of their positions, of their power, and all of that. Now, there are a lot of leaders who thrive by pursuing those interests, but truly, leadership is all about people. The fact is, leaders cannot do much by themselves. Leaders only achieve their results through people. And so, if you don't make people the central focus, if you don't invest in your people, if you don't spend time with them, if you don't make them feel human, if you don't make them feel dignified, respected, and treated fairly, trust me, you may get some stuff out of them, but you may not get everything out of them. Leadership is all about people. And the more we put in people, the more we get out of people. Leadership is about building succession. If you are a leader and you live with a constant insecurity that when you raise other people, they will come and take your position, then you do not understand leadership at all. In fact, raising leaders is the very essence of leadership. The legacy you leave behind when you have run an organization or run a group or being a leader in any situation, it's not what you built during the time you were there, but it's what you build in people. So every legacy, or the most important legacy of leaders, is what we build in people. And these are the lessons. That last lesson about leadership being all about people is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what I do on the Lead2xceed platform, because all I want to do is give back of my experiences, of my learning, to younger leaders, to other people who are going to grow to make impact in different kinds of situations. And I do hope that you have taken a thing or two from these lessons. Let me go now and start trying to find out if we have some questions on the channel that we can answer. Okay, as of now, I do not see any questions yet. So I have been talking today about the top 5 lessons of um, my leadership career or my leadership journey. The first one, I spoke about the fact that leadership is driven by purpose, or purpose is central to leadership. So you must find your purpose. Number two, there is no substitute for doing the work. No one should think that leadership is just a place you get to and you just get to, but it is also a place where you must do the work. So to get to the top, please do the work. Learn how to communicate, learn how to relate, learn how to talk, learn how to navigate the political waters of the organization, but also do the work. The third one is that authenticity works. If anyone told you that authenticity does not work, please do not believe it. Authenticity actually works. I have seen over the years many people give me feedback, and one of the things that people always value is they say this man is authentic. The fourth one is seed sowing and reaping is a principle that works in leadership. The more we sow in other people, the more we reap. The more we defend and speak well for other people when they are not in the room, the more we have other people speaking for us when we are not in the room. And finally, leadership is all about people. So let me start off with a question that I got asked recently by someone, and the question basically said, what do you do when you are being authentic and yet you find that other people are getting ahead of you and who you clearly can see are not being authentic? They are not telling the boss the truth. They are not giving the boss the right information. However, they are the ones who have favor with the boss and they are getting ahead of you whilst you are being authentic. Somebody asked me that question recently, and let me kind of give an answer on this platform today. So first of all, never sacrifice who you are in order to achieve heights. Never sacrifice who you are and what you stand for and what your values are in order to rise up into leadership positions, whether in the corporate setting or in any other setting for that matter. Because what you have is yourself. The tool you have is yourself. What you bring to work, what you bring to any leadership situation, what you bring to any kind of social setting, it's yourself. So don't lose yourself in order to get to where you want to get to. The second thing is, you see, we have a certain proverb in my local language that you don't bend down the house of a liar. You take it apart one piece at a time. You don't bend down the heart of a liar. You take it apart one piece at a time. So when you see people who appear from the beginning to be going higher by lying and not being authentic, it is just one piece of that you pull out one day, and you see the whole thing comes crumbling down. You have seen many items in the newspapers of people who have not told the truth, people who are not being genuine and authentic, and you've seen how they end. And you don't want to end like that. You want to end well. Authenticity takes time. Authenticity takes time, but the results are lasting. And I'll tell you a story. So I remember quite some years ago, we worked with one person who left the organization. And after he left the organization, one day he visited the office. And as he walked through the office, I hardly saw anybody relating to him. I hardly saw anybody relating to him. And I kept thinking to myself, this man worked here for many years. Nobody cares that he is in the office. I had the experience of seeing another person who came to the office and he could not have enough time to relate to people because everybody wanted to speak to him. Everybody wanted to find out how he was doing. Everybody was smiling and talking to him and relating to him. And I was asking myself, what is the difference between these two leaders? The second leader, of course, left a lasting impact. You could see the genuineness in the smiles. You could see the genuineness in how people related. Authenticity leaves lasting results. And I'm just going to encourage you that it's just a matter of time, but do not sacrifice your authenticity because you have seen someone who is climbing ahead and you are not climbing ahead being authentic. The other question which I wanted to address was a question about purpose. You have spoken a lot about purpose, but how do you actually find that purpose? How do you find what is your purpose in life and I'll say in your leadership journey? Now, let me say a couple of things. First of all, as I've said, every single individual is wired in a particular way. Sometimes we refer to them as our temperaments. Some people are very extrovert, some people are introverts, some people are very tactical, some people are very strategic. The way you're wired as a human being, you're wired for what you are supposed to do. That's why when we are building teams, we try to diversify our teams to ensure that we've got many different kinds of talents on the team. That is why when you belong to a team, you see that everybody contributes something that makes the team whole. Now, so you are unique as an individual. Now, to find out why am I here? Number one, I think it's important to relate to your higher purpose. It's important to you relate to something that's higher and bigger than yourself, you know, and through that you begin to find what is my purpose here. And I can tell you that I found my purpose by first of all believing in God. And believing in God helped me to begin to think about why I am here. You will find that there are things, as I mentioned earlier, that come to you very naturally. There are things that sometimes make you very angry. There are things that, you know, you're always interested to find out more about. There are things that when you do them without sweat. Some of those things can give you a sense of what is it that I'm here for. There are strengths that you find come to you and you just do the things and you get on with it. Some of those things gradually help you to begin to figure out, I'm so good at this. I'm not so good at that. I can do this naturally, but this I struggle to do. These are the things that every time I'm doing them, I feel really fulfilled or I'm really passionate about. Some of those things help you to begin to piece it together and start seeing what really is my purpose? What are the things I can do? What are the things that I'm strong at? I'm sure we can have a whole conversation talking about how to find your purpose as a leader. Do we have any other questions? Okay. If we do not have any other questions, let me try and bring this session to a close quickly. And for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to watch this, you will always be able to play this back on the Lead2xceed YouTube channel. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening and for hearing my top 5 leadership lessons. Hopefully, you picked up a thing or two from it. As always, if you have any leadership question that you'd like us to answer, if this conversation has triggered something in your mind that you'd like to explore a bit more, or there's just something that you'd like discussed, by all means, please reach out to us via our email, lead2xceed@gmail.com, or via this channel. Drop a question and we will come back and respond to you. It's wonderful having you all join us this evening. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. And I will be back with some new series that are really going to be very exciting. Thank you very much for being our subscribers. Thank you for being our followers. And thank you for enjoying the Lead2xceed channel. This has been me, Henry Baye, on the live chat talking about my top 5 leadership lessons. Lead2xceed, inspiring leaders, multiplying impact. See you again next time.